welcome to Good News Rhode Island, the show about Rhode Island and people and places and events that make Rhode Island a great place to live. It really has many more interesting things going on than you would expect for the smallest state in the Union. So today we're going to be talking about that kind of thing by talking about the Blackstone River that flows from Worcester, Massachusetts down to Rhode Island, and there are 23 little towns and villages along it. It has a great history, particularly a history of industrialization. And so we're meeting here now to talk with Bonnie Combs and Suzanne Buchanan, who are here from the Blackstone River Valley corridor, who are going to be talking with us about what goes on behind the scenes that you may not know about. I don't know how to connect all the dots, so we're going to find out today. So welcome to both of you, and thank you for being here. First of all, I just want you to say who you are, what you do, and how you got to where you are.
Excellent. Well, first I want to thank you for finding us and inviting us on the show. We love to tell the story. So my name is Bonnie Combs, and I'm the marketing director at the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor. And how I discovered it was through a volunteer event. The Blackstone River Coalition, the Blackstone River Watershed Council held a cleanup event. And it was 2005. And I just showed up, and I made friends immediately, and then I just kept showing up. And that eventually led me to Suzanne, who was the volunteer coordinator with the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor at the time. And I just kept volunteering. And over 10 years later, here I am now working for the corridor.
Okay, so you brought everything you knew, and you've learned more, I bet. And how about you, Suzanne?
Well, how I got connected is my love to talk. I was arranged with the National Park Service for 17 years on the assignment with the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor. And I had the opportunity to connect folks with the resources, and then that led me to do the opportunity of fundraising. And when I say fundraising, it's F-U-N, not F-U-N-D. So I fundraise through the volunteer program. I'm the volunteer coordinator on behalf of the National Park Service. Every unit of the National Park Service has a Volunteers in Parks program, so I have the opportunity to connect people to the resources through our VIP program. We consider our volunteers very important people through our Volunteers in Parks program.
Wow, that's a great idea, the fundraiser. In 1986, the Congress did something, I guess, both Democrat and Republican, which is pretty amazing. Tell us what that was.
Well, they declared this area that you can zoom in on the map. They declared this area a National Heritage Corridor. It's actually now 25 communities between Worcester and Providence. And that was done to preserve the rich history that is here. And we're going to let the cat out of the bag, because a lot of people don't know the significance, but it's considered the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution.
It's pretty amazing, huh? So can you point to Worcester and then go on down? Can we have the camera on the map again?
Sure. So Worcester is up here, which is considered the headwaters of the Blackstone River, and it travels down all the way down to Pawtucket and into
Rhode Island, Pawtucket. So it's how many miles is that?
The river is 46.
46 miles. Okay, and I know it has 234 feet of fall. Is that right? And so it made it a pretty rapid river at certain times of the spring, I would imagine. And so it could be used for power. And that's why the beginning of the Industrial Revolution was here, also because of Samuel Slater.
Right. So if we just back up a little bit, when in 1986, when the Heritage Corridor was created, we must pay tribute to John H. Chafee, because John H. Chafee, he authorized the legislation and there was a special resource study done by the National Park Service, and that resource study came out and said, nowhere in America do we have the resources to tell the story of where industry began in America than here in the Blackstone River Valley. So, as we talk about the falls, it is 438 feet that the river drops from Worcester to Providence, and that's where that falls powered the industry for everything at the beginning, starting with Sam Slater, 1793, was water power.
And what a clever idea to use water. I mean, we're looking all the times now for new kinds of energy, and there it was right beside them. And my assumption is that it had a very important role in the Native American life before that, because it would have been used for transportation, but also for fishing, also for hunting, and also for livelihood. So to me, it's had a longer history than what we are documenting today.
Right. We give that river's name it's the Blackstone River. It's named after William Blackstone. And it is said that when William left the Boston Common area on his white bull and settled in Cumberland, they would see that William Blackstone was quite often found down by the river source. And the local natives would say that's Blackstone's river, thus being named Blackstone River.
He rode a white ox?
That's what they say.
Okay. That's a good thing to remember him for. Anyway, so bad times came along with King Philip's War, and then Samuel Slater came and started designing, tell me if this is right, started designing weaving equipment that used water, and illicitly brought the design for water mills here. Is that right?
He did. Sam Slater, he was born in Belper, England. He was trained with the Arkwrights, and he learned how to successfully take water power and spin raw cotton into finished thread. That was already being done in England. So what he did is he stowed away on a ship and he came to America. He heard that the Brown and Olney family in Providence was looking to already, in fact, doing spinning raw cotton into finished thread, but with little success using water power. Sam came. He showed them by taking and switching a spool and rethreading it this way, and before you knew it, he was masterful. They couldn't get enough of Sam. Show us how more to do this. And this is where Sam was able to take this knowledge that he had been trained and bring it to America.
Okay, and the river does have, I don't even know if it's freshwater or saltwater.
It's fresh.
Is it brackish?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But where
But
it
part of
ends.
it is brackish.
Right, where it ends.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And so they took this fresh water and they ran it through their mill, but basically didn't change the water at all initially.
No.
But then came dyeing and
yes.
other processing,
Right.
and the river became ill, essentially.
Correct. If you think about when the mills up in Worcester was using water power, they did run it through their mills, and then the next person downstream would use the water and pass it through. This is where a lot of times you see man-made waterfalls and water backed up behind that waterfall, calling it the mill pond. And that, if you would think about it, was the storage energy for the mill. And so when they needed the power, they could regulate the flow of water by opening up the gates, allowing more water to flow, increasing the speed or decreasing the speed of the water wheel to get their power. And then the next person would use it all the way down.
Pretty ingenious and pretty communicative, is that right? So there was some communication between different little areas that had mills.
Oh, there was communication, and sometimes it wasn't all good because he'd be like, you've been using too much of my water. We need you to slow down and send some more down our way. So.
Okay, and in a drought time probably was worse.
Absolutely.
And the mills were first worked by children and then families were brought from other countries, from Sweden and Ireland and Poland and Lithuania to work the mills. So we gradually got a very mixed and wonderfully diverse community up and down the river, as well as an industrial community.
Right. The largest concentration to begin to work the mills was from French Canadian. And if you go to visit Woonsocket, at one time they said that Woonsocket was the largest concentration of French Canadians in all of North America. And when you travel the streets, that pays tribute to see the signs, the names of the roads and the streets within Woonsocket.
And the Museum for Work and Culture, it's part of this Blackstone River.
It's a gem, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's something everyone should visit. But going down the 24 cities then, gradually, somehow Rhode Island was separated from Massachusetts. Did that bring new problems too for the weavers or the spinners or the dyers?
I don't really know if there was problems because, again, everybody was doing their own opportunities of producing. Maybe that their communication was that we'll spin the raw cotton into finished thread, and then the next mill would weave it, and then the next one might package it. So there was a lot of different opportunities. But when the Heritage Corridor was created, that boundary was erased between Mass and Rhode Island, and it is a unified corridor.
So it is really where it might have been had not the political boundaries been made. I mean, it's kind of an interesting concept anyway. Okay, so Moses Brown became involved, and most of us know about Moses Brown because we're from Rhode Island. Tell us a little bit about Moses Brown and what he was doing. He was trying to design new equipment, and so he brought more work to the Blackstone River. He tried this river rather than others, I guess.
He did. It was close to where he was located in Providence. In order to have water-powered machinery, you need the falls. You need the drop in the river. So he identified with that was the starting place was in Pawtucket. And he had the finances to help support that creation of building the first mill. That mill was built of wood. As the machines became stronger and heavier and more vibrations, this is where you see they transition from wooden mills into stone mills into brick mills that could support it. The windows became bigger because there was not the switch that you could turn the light on, is that they needed the natural lighting. So you see the windows became bigger. They had early onset of skylights for them to weave from as well.
So lots of things were invented because of this one need, one industry.
Absolutely.
And churches and housing and mills and stores built little towns, is that right? So that gradually the communities built as the mills grew.
Absolutely.
And
the village of Slatersville is actually the first planned mill village.
And I'm sorry, Slatersville is where?
In Rhode Island.
In
it's
Rhode
part of
Island.
North Smithfield.
Oh, see, all these towns have. Anyway, so we all need to follow this map and walk through it or drive through it anyway.
Right, and that map is available. At any time, if you see that we're showing you some different publications, you can call our office or send us an email, and we can send you the same map that we're looking at right now.
And so then we can all learn the various parts.
But then what we'd like to do is, Bonnie, what would we tell them to do once they get the map?
Is to get lost. So we have a fun travel guide called the Get Lost Guide that will lead you on adventures throughout, which is now 25 communities throughout the National Heritage Corridor. So we can jump to a little story. In 2014, it was declared a National Historical Park, and they added the additional community of Auburn to the corridor. So now we're 25 communities.
National Historical Park. Okay, let's talk about the difference between corridor and park. Corridor assumes that there's motion, and it assumes that there are many communities along it. Corridor assumes that it has, you begin someplace and you move to somewhere else. But park says it's supported by the federal government, and it's a place where people can go and have explanations and have maybe some events that happen because the national government is involved. I don't know if I'm giving
Right, so
that
the designation of the park is just an additional layer. We still operate as two separate entities.
Uh-huh.
So Suzanne and I are from the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor, which is now a 501c3 nonprofit, and we work alongside the national park. When you get the map, or if you can see, there are certain national park arrowheads on certain places on the map, and that's where they're defining the boundaries. And those are the areas that the National Park Service is concentrating the storytelling of the Industrial Revolution. There's very significant stories in the communities, including Pawtucket, Ashton, Slatersville that we talked about. Those are 3 in Rhode Island. Also in Whitensville, Northbridge, where our office is, and also in Hopedale, Mass.
Right. It's important to also note that we do not own or manage any land. So when you look at the green boundaries, is that's within the boundaries of the Heritage Corridor, and then you look at the spine of the new National Historical Park. Again, nothing is owned or managed. We must work in partnership with the 25 communities to make things happen.
And how does that work?
It works.
So
We have
do you all
fun.
meet? You
That's
all meet
that
together?
fundraising part I tell you about.
Okay, so you all meet together and you decide whatever, something important, and leave, and all of you do what you say you're going to do.
Well, we do. We have a really good partnership, and what we do is that I coordinate the volunteer program. I give people the opportunity to connect in their communities, to learn something new in a different community, and to give back. So there's a lot to the program. You know, if you like to bike ride, we have the Blackstone Heritage Corridor Bikeway Ambassadors. We have the Blackstone Valley Paddle Club that paddles on Tuesday. We bike ride on Wednesday. We do history walks with the National Park Service for their walkabout program on Thursday. You'll find we have the Blackstone Heritage Corridor Trail Ambassadors that this year alone led 33 hikes throughout the Heritage Corridor. And we just have a new initiative with the Blackstone Heritage Corridor Photography Ambassadors, and they go out and they photograph the volunteers in action, the public enjoying the events, as well as the special resources we have throughout the communities.
Wow, I wish we had this all printed on the screen so everyone could read it, but they need to call you and get some of this information.
They can visit our website, and see a lot of it is on our website.
And your website is?
BlackstoneHeritageCorridor.org.
Right. And if you're like itching to say, I want to have some of that fun, each month we hold a ticket to volunteer. And this is your ticket to come see what kind of fun we have and how you can get connected. Is that on November 14th, we'll be hosting a volunteer open house. No commitment is needed. Just come listen, hear what we have to say. Come get some of these publications. And we'll be hosting it at the brand new Blackstone Heritage Corridor Visitor Center in Worcester. It just opened this past Saturday. It's magnificent. Come see it at night. Come see it glow. Come feel the energy.
You're also cleaning up the river at the same time, and you're taking great strides in doing that. First, there were 2 species of fish, I guess, 20 years ago, and now there are 18 species of fish.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have several partner organizations that are doing a lot of that work. We have the Blackstone River Coalition, the Blackstone River Watershed Association, which is in Mass, and then the Blackstone River Watershed Council / Friends of the Blackstone that work in Rhode Island.
So you're all working together, and you
Exactly.
have work parties, I assume, when you go out and try to pick up whatever has fallen.
In addition to water quality monitoring that is done by all those
So
organizations.
you're pretty sure the river is actually moving back to what it was
Right.
at some point. It's never going to be engineered the same way, is that right? It's been engineered to have a different flow and different landscape.
Correct. Yeah. And so what we have is the opportunity is that we're getting ready for company to come. And when company comes, we want to make sure we have a great first impression. So again, with our volunteers and with Bonnie's efforts through her Trash Responsibly program, our volunteers are volunteering tirelessly to make sure we're ready for guests. Another initiative that we have is that we coordinate days of service with companies. Many companies more and more are offering their employees a day of service to go out and give back to the community. They are paid to do that. And so then we coordinate a day of service on where they could use their gift, their talent to help. We do some maintenance along the bikeway. There's forever the opportunity to replace broken rails along the way, to cut back branches that are overhanging. So if you are one of those companies that say, hey, we need someone to help us coordinate that, again, we can make a difference that day while having fun, and we give you a sense of place on the resource that you're cleaning.
And a sense of place for your own community, because the river obviously affects us all.
Right.
Okay, well, I really am interested in this, and I hope that other people are, just from hearing you talk. Do you want to just state your basic philosophy of functioning? What is it? To bring, to educate and to bring the history as well as the present day enjoyment of the river to the whole area.
Our mission statement is that we preserve and promote the natural, historical, cultural, and recreational resources of the Blackstone River Valley. But we tell the stories of the valley's history, the people and places, we guide you on adventures and discovery, and we champion our river and mill villages.
And all the people who are working to make it a good place to live.
Exactly, and our partners.
Well, thank you very much, Bonnie and Suzanne, for coming, and I hope we see you often on the Blackstone River.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching Good News Rhode Island. We're all here to show you what is really good about living in Rhode Island and all the people and places and events that make Rhode Island a great place to live. We're sure that there's good news in your community. Please let us know so that we can highlight it, and good news will be happening because you're making it. Thank you.